on air right now is Harrison Smith, director of Death House. Harrison, I'm Sully. Nice of you to join us on the show. There he is. We got his video up and running. Yay! How are you, sir? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on. It's really nice. I'm glad you like the creature at the end. It's one of our favorites, and it gets a lot of standout attention from the preview audiences that have seen it.
It's just so grotesque. It's awesome.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? The Descent, when they have they're covered in blood, I believe.
Yes.
And she's kind of screaming out and everything. That's the kind of first thing I thought, but I couldn't tell if it was a creature or what it was. It was just like this blood skirt just screaming.
I'm calling it now. It's somebody whose skin just got ripped off.
Oh, something. I guess we'll have to watch it and see.
Spoilers?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
So Harrison, thank you for joining us. I hope my co-host Adam didn't bug you too much to get you on the air today.
No, not at all.
Because my phone has been going off like crazy when it comes to this. Apparently, this movie itself is the word of mouth of this has just been exploding all over the Twitter universe, which is fantastic.
Good. I hope it will translate to asses in theater seats.
Me too.
Well, you got a couple right here alone, so
we're all for it. JT, who you can see on Skype, you can't see me because my camera's being used already. JT's not a big horror film guy, but that's okay because maybe
that's okay.
Maybe you can convince him.
I don't think you should have to convince people. I mean, there's a lot of different levels of horror. You know, maybe I don't know where you came in at. You know, maybe it's time to revisit some films and see what you think. But I mean, I loved it since I was a boy. So I grew up watching monster movies with my grandmother.
Ah, the old Universal Mummy and Dracula, Frankenstein.
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna lie. Aside from the original horror films of that, I have to throw in the Abbott and Costello ones because those are
yeah, it's a given. You have to. Yes.
You have to. So aside from those movies, like, what was your first really, like, the first horror film, like the first slasher that you've ever seen that kind of got you into it a little bit more? That, hey, I want to make these movies.
Well, I mean, the first film, I mean, you might want to call it a slasher because the shark was killing people left and right, was Jaws.
There you go.
That's the movie that made me want to make movies. So I was 8 years old in 1975. My mother took me, and nowadays I'm sure my mother would be arrested for child abuse for doing it. But
that was rated PG.
Jaws was basically X-rated for anybody over 30.
Yeah.
And for me as a boy, I'm not kidding. I walked out of that theater knowing I want to make movies.
Nice.
The Fields, my first film, The Fields, covers a lot of the stuff with my grandmother watching the old black and white Universal monster movies, and why I developed an affinity for them. So the interesting thing, I guess, about like which is the first slasher or type of horror film that really got me, I am going to have to come back to Jaws. That was the one that did it for me. I think that was the first big screen scary movie that I saw, other than seeing them on small, 25-inch screens.
Sure. With the Saturday morning matinee type movies.
Dr. Shock out of Philadelphia, or Uncle Ted, and I think he was in Scranton or Wilkes-Barre.
I like him.
I used to watch reruns of like Zachary, and Chiller Theater used to scare the hell out of me. Out of WPIX. WPIX on Friday nights, I think it was, that freaking claymation hand would come up out of the
yeah.
We're going old school, folks.
It would do that Chiller. That was it, man. I had more nightmares about that than any film they showed.
See, for me, my actual first, and my parents can vouch for me on this, was Poltergeist.
That is a good one.
The original Poltergeist.
That's a good one to break you with.
That movie. Now, mind you, when I first quote saw it, not to make you feel old or anything, but I was in a playpen when I saw it. But I was a little kid, so it was one of those things that they're not paying attention to the TV. Oh yes, I was, because every time something bad happened, this sick freaking idiot laughed his head off every single time. That should have been a clue to my parents. Like, okay, this one's special. Maybe just a little. But for me, Poltergeist like really got me into the scary movies, the horror films, the slashers, the psychological thrillers, the paranormal, like all of that. And,
Sure.
and I've seen horror. To me, I think horror films have kind of degraded. Well, I can't say all horror films. Mainstream horror films,
not all,
have kind of had like a degrade in Hollywood these days. Like
every now and then they come out with a couple that really change it, I feel.
Yeah.
And then eventually they kind of run that to the ground, and then they got to either do a reboot or something like that. But
reboots.
I mean, to me, I love Jaws. You know how much I love Jaws.
Dude, you post Shark Week every time.
My wife for Christmas got me a Jaws shark head that I have, like a huge one.
Wow.
That's in my room. We had the Jaws theme.
This one that Horror by Proxy sent to me. I won a prize.
It's Bruce.
Online, so I got that. It's Bruce.
He's got Bruce, man.
Yeah,
he's
got Quinn in him too. There's Quinn.
Do you really?
And, for you Jaws fans, I mean, I was saying on Twitter there is an entire Jaws community. Do you know that? Like they're the
everywhere.
Characters from the movies. I mean, Philip Fitzroyce is there, Len Peterson, Select Woman Taft.
Yeah, they have a get-together, don't they?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. They're some of the funniest damn people. And I love that they don't break character. And like Select Woman Taft every once in a while just throws in her, like you throw a joke out and she's like, I don't think that's funny. I don't think that's funny at all. I'm sorry.
That's awesome.
Like, you know what I mean? Like they play it. I mean, there's Captain Quint, there's Chief Brody, Lenny Hendricks.
We're going to need a bigger boat.
Deputy or Chief Hendricks. It depends on which view. And I love his fallback. The guy who does Chief Hendricks is he always just every once in a while just Chief. That's all he writes, Chief.
Do you got the guy with the tiger shark? What is it? It's a tiger shark.
Oh yeah.
What's a tiger shark?
He's known as Frankie Watt.
Yeah.
That's what they call him on. Yeah, I'm telling you, if you look at that last tweet I sent with all those profiles.
Yep.
Yes.
There's Calvin Bouchard. There's Hoagie.
Wow.
Okay, like Hoagie's on there, and he's always Randy. He's always he's bit like the Jaws community's Quagmire.
Giggity.
I'm telling you, these people are so much fun, and they've kind of accepted me. I'm like an honorary Islander kind of thing.
Nice.
I hope we can get
it's
that
really
far.
nice. Mayor Vaughn is on there. Dr. Morgan from Jaws 3D. Mike Brody's there. I mean, they're all there. Harry Meadows, the medical examiner, and he stands by everything. I'll stand by that. He'll amend his report, and he'll stand by it.
I'll stand. That is
They're
phenomenal.
really fun people, and I love being a part of it. It's just I won't spend the whole interview on that, but my dog died in June. And I was having such an awful day because it was just terrible. I mean, if you've lost a pet, and
sure.
These guys were online, and I was just getting into the mix with them. And I'll tell you what, it took your mind off of stuff for a little bit. They were just very fun people, and I just love what they do. And we have this whole thing going now where Chief Hendricks is the son of Quint. He was the illegal love child between him and Grace Kinney, who was only mentioned in Jaws 2. She was dancing around in a towel.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They have this whole thing going, and then Red, the guy that was with Hendricks out in the boat when they pulled the cable up in 2, he's now a part of some type of conspiracy where Hendricks might have been wrangling sharks to be a hero and setting up Chief Brody and the I mean, it's great. They're just very fun people, and if you check them out, anybody listening, go check them out online. Usually I say start with Len Peterson or Chief Brody or Select Woman Taft or her husband, Leslie Taft, they call him. And he runs the Taft Hotel, and he's like this weird swinger kind of tanning god kind of guy. But it's cool. But anyway, so there's our Jaws talk. But they're great people. Pippet is on there. Pippet's owner is on there.
Oh, wow. Pippet.
Pippet, Pippet's there. Pippet Stick. Pippet Stick is there too.
I will work on that. Now that we've talked about it, I will work on getting that. That's awesome.
Though,
Yeah, you got to watch out for their enemies, though. They live on Cape Cod, and they're known as the Cotters.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're not too far in Connecticut from Cape Cod.
Yeah, they're like these hipster doofuses that they tried to invade Amity by launching T-shirts out of a T-shirt cannon and sending people over to have sex on their white sand beaches. Like, yeah, Cape Station. Yeah, so it's funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're great people.
Yeah, the internet is full of wonderful people.
Oh my!
It's also full of assholes.
It is.
Not gonna lie, it's full of assholes.
It's a mixed crowd. It's a mixed crowd.
It is a mixed crowd, but I'm glad I found these guys, and I'm glad they let me play.
And only like true Jaws fans would get that, you know.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like some of them, they pull some stuff out, man, that I'm like, wow, like, you know, lines that they just, and the way they work them in, it's
like real obscure.
Yeah, kind of like our zombie apocalypse.
Oh my God, that went on for 2 hours.
Almost.
So they do have a Halloween 3 community too, but it seems to just be Cochran, Dr. Chalice, and the guy that ran the Rose of Shannon Inn. Like, that's all there is.
Wow, they need to up that, because you know what? Halloween 3 was very underrated. Very
yes,
underrated.
I agree. I'm a Halloween 3 fan.
That was a very underrated movie when it comes to the Halloween series. And
I agree.
A lot of it underrated.
And now
Tommy
they got
Lee
a
Wallace
reboot.
is like my Obi-Wan. He's like my mentor.
So,
He's a great man.
So tell us about Death House. I know you were a co-writer of this with Gunnar
Hansen.
Gunnar Hansen, the original Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. How did this come about? Like, what was the reasoning that you decided, hey, let's make Death House. Let's make this movie.
Sure. Well, what I can tell you is only what I've been told. And Michael Eisenstadt was Gunnar's agent. Mm-hmm. And Michael had a lot of these horror icons as clients.
Right.
And so Michael worked with Gunnar to develop a kind of like what they called at the time. I don't know if they called it, but the media definitely calls it the Expendables of horror. And I'm not a fan of that moniker, but if it helps people remember this and puts it in their minds, that's great.
Sure.
So anyway, Gunnar wrote a script, and but Gunnar, under his own self-admission, said, I'm not really that good with dialogue, and you know, I don't know if this is going to really attract any attention, but they put it out there, and it got some people excited, but not enough, kind of thing. And then they had a rewrite, and that's where one of these internet rumors came through. They had a rewrite of the script, but the person who rewrote Gunnar's script turned it basically into torture porn, is what it was.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was the farthest thing from what Gunnar wanted. So Gunnar was not happy with that draft, but then this internet rumor started that Gunnar removed himself from his own project, which was never the case. It's not true. And but I love all these people that don't make movies. They all know. They're all experts. So anyway, they tried to get it up and going a couple times, and over a period of a couple years, they brought it to Rick Finkelstein and Stephen Chase of Entertainment Factory, and Mike Eisenstadt knew me because Dee Wallace was in my previous film, Zombie Killers, Elephant's Graveyard.
Nice.
And I had a good experience with both. And Mike said, I know this guy, this director and producer and writer, you might want to bring the project to. And so they came to a screening of Zombie Killers in Los Angeles. And I met with them, and they liked me. I liked them back. And I met with Michael the next day in Los Angeles for lunch. He gave me both scripts. And then I reached out to Gunnar, started talking to Gunnar. I got the job, and I rewrote it, came up with a 10-page treatment, and I sent it to Gunnar for his approval. Now I've said this in other interviews, but I had no idea Gunnar was ill. He never let on that he was terminally ill with pancreatic cancer. And if you've ever known Gunnar, if you've ever met him, he was just such a big, gentle giant. He was just such a gentleman.
Yeah.
And I always say that it's funny that, you know, he's known for playing Leatherface, but in a bizarro world, he would have been the perfect Santa Claus. And just a very, very kind man. And there was an urgency to get this done. And now in hindsight, of course, you see why. And he did approve of my treatment and then the script. I did send him the draft. He had some input. I took his input. We met several times face to face, and then a lot of it was done by phone. And then, of course, as we know, Gunnar died. But Gunnar did, in his last days, let Michael Eisenstadt, his agent, know that he approved of the script and it had his blessing. Oof. So I'm very happy about that.
Yeah. Now, how long did it take to actually make the film?
Sure. We shot the film in 19 days, I believe it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fast.
That's bi-coastal. That's in Philadelphia and then in Los Angeles.
Wow.
Holy crap.
Yep.
We couldn't even do a short film in a day. We had to do 3. Wow, 19 days.
I mean, if you count the travel day and all that, 21, 22 days.
Even
maybe.
19 days of shooting.
Wow.
And doing that in general and all that, that's impressive.
And it had a lot of locations. It's not all just in the jail. It's all over. We were in the desert. We were all over the place.
Wow. And most of the trailer shows the jail, obviously.
Yeah, and that's why you have, these people that do trailer reviews. Oh, it looks so dark. It looks cheap. Well, it's dark because it's underground, jackass.
Yeah.
And number 2, I guess if the Alexa Pro is a cheap camera, yup, we're cheap.
Wow.
I guess that's what it is. So much. I always love trailer reviewers. That's like walking into the doorway of a restaurant and taking 2 sniffs going, nope, this place sucks.
I like him.
See, I had the exact opposite view of it when I saw it, and I really enjoyed it. And I love the fact that it's
a good trailer.
Yeah.
It's a great trailer.
It's a great trailer, and it's not this. It almost feels like it's made directly for the people that appreciate it the most.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. That's exactly what it was made for. And in fact, it's modeled after the Jurassic Park trailer. You have set up, here's the park, then we have trouble, monsters get out. That's what it is. And I've always pitched Death House as Jurassic Park without the dinosaurs.
Yeah, but you got Kane Hodder instead.
That's like a T-Rex.
I'll tell you what, everybody who has seen it, the audience and including Kane's peers that are in the film have said, this is Kane's movie. And Kane has told me, and if you've met Kane and you've ever talked with him, there's no bullshit with Kane. And Kane has told me he is most proud of this film. He loves it. He is extremely, extremely proud of this motion picture.
And that's coming from my favorite Jason Voorhees.
I think
it's most people's. Yes.
Yeah, because he brought a whole new aspect to the way Jason Voorhees was in the Friday the 13th films, and then seeing him just in the couple of lines you hear from him alone, you're like, damn, he's badass. And he's badass.
Well, and he's got such a great voice.
Oh yeah.
It's funny that he's most famous for a character that doesn't speak because his voice is just incredible. I mean, he's got such a broadcast voice.
Yeah, and I mean, just the way he goes all in with his roles.
Yes.
Because I mean, even from my understanding, when he took over the role of Jason, a lot of that was ad-libbed. Like, really, why would he do this? He's dead.
He brought a lot to the role of Sieg in Death House.
Yeah.
He really did. He wanted the character to grow and become his own. And I was more than happy to do that. As a director, that's what you hire actors for. You don't just tell them to hit their mark and move from A to B. You love what they bring to the table. I mean, Kane and Courtney especially have a great on-screen chemistry, and they worked extremely well together. And their suggestions only enhanced the film. And I loved it. I just love when an actor does something that you're like, oh my God, just keep the cameras running.
Never hurts to ad lib.
Now, I heard, and Matt and I were talking about it before the show, he was going to ask about it. So I heard that it was kind of his idea to grow the facial hair, kind of the braiding it the way he did.
Really?
Yep.
Not going to lie, he looks a little creepy with
Kane.
that.
That's all Kane. He wanted the beard and grow the facial hair out and then have these kind of like almost like pigtails on the beard.
When I saw the trailer, I was like, damn, how the hell did he do that? Are those extensions? And then Adam told me, no, he actually grew them. I'm like,
yeah, he grew them.
Whoa, this is going to be great. Because in my opinion, any actor that would take the time to, one, do something like that or change his appearance in order to bring a character to life is going way above and beyond what any type of director would want. And,
well, it's funny that, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's funny
no.
you say that because I'll lose this. And Kane, of course, is the consummate with that. But Cody Longo and Courtney Palm did something pretty interesting too. And I had somebody send me a draft of their review of Death House. They saw it at a private screening. And I did make only one correction on this as a director. And that is both Courtney and Cody have a number of tattoos on their bodies. They're real tattoos. They're inked. And both of them in a read-through said, how can we work these tattoos in with our characters? And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, there's a shower scene in the film.
Everybody loves a shower scene.
Say again?
Everybody loves a shower scene.
Well, and since we're equal opportunity offenders, male and female are naked in the shower.
Of course.
Okay, so it's just not the gratuitous boob shot. Okay, this is turnabout is fair play. And eye candy is eye candy, no matter what you like.
Yep.
That's how I look at it. And anyway, the scene covers their tattoos, and they're talking about certain things in the scene, and the talk of the tattoos and the shots of the tattoos elevate that scene into something better than just a gratuitous nudity shot. And that was because of the actors. They came to me and said, look, we're going to be naked anyway. We'd like to use these. I'm like, well, this is fantastic. And this is what actors do. And it's a terrific thing. I'm very lucky to have had the people that I had.
Yeah.
Does she ask him where he got his tramp stamp? Because I feel like that would have been good.
Did she what?
Did she ask him about his tramp stamp? You know, kind of instead of him asking about her.
How'd you get this? Well, let me tell you this one time in Bangkok.
Right.
No, we didn't get into the deep discussions on where the tattoos came from, but we did make sure to work them into the film.
See this one on my butt? Yeah, I don't know where that came from.
Everyone's
Sorry.
got that one they regret.
It's that one tiny little tattoo that's always spelled wrong. Just saying.
So, Harrison, when you were writing it, and obviously there's a lot of draft changes, once you started casting some of the people for the film, how much rewrite did you do, kind of knowing their background and obviously being it so important that people know who these people are and know their horror film? How much rewrite did you do to, like, bring in some of the previous roles maybe as, like, an Easter egg or a tongue-in-cheek into the script?
Sure, that's a great question. That's a really good question because this is the part, as both a writer and a director, you can trip yourself up pretty good with the audience. Look, a lot of fans have been waiting for this. The one thing that is I want to make very clear before I go in and answer this question in detail, and that is this is not a monster mashup movie. This is not Freddy versus Jason or Candyman takes on Michael Myers. There's none of that, okay? That's not what this is. These are horror people that are known for their horror acting, but they have taken on all new characters. Kane is not Jason Voorhees.
Right.
Tony Todd is not Candyman. Okay, so I just want to make that clear.
All right, I'm not seeing this because of that. That's bad.
Yeah. In writing the script, I wanted to make sure that we steered clear of like a Scooby-Doo type of movie where it's like, oh, look, there's Sid Haig. Oh, look, there's Felissa Rose, you know. Also to make sure that you don't have any heavy-handed kind of tributes. Like, for example, the sign of a bad horror tribute is always reverence. When there's too much, and that's in any movie. What kills a movie is too much reverence. Yeah. I think most people would argue that Superman Returns could have been a far better film if it just stopped paying so much tribute to the Richard Donner movie.
Yeah.
And just got on with it and gave us a story instead of constantly going back to the Richard Donner film, which I understand, I get it, but too much can be too much. So anyway, with this, you don't want characters like, you don't want to name anybody like a girl character with the last name of Strode. Okay.
Right.
We all know. Okay, get it. The Halloween reference. Get it.
No Voorhees. Okay. No Krueger.
Voorhees. Right. I mean, or Torrance. You know what I mean? Like names that are really gonna stand out. So we didn't do that. And then the next thing is we made sure that the characters were all very germane to the story, that they play a part. Like Sid Haig had a great point. He said, look, I'm going to do this. I want to be a part of it, but don't just stick me in there. Don't just pop me in. And the role that we gave him is absolutely crucial to the forwarding of the plot of the film, and also connects the universes between Death House and Camp Dread.
Right.
So, which is really cool. So Sid was very pleased about that. And Tony Todd, the same way. Tony Todd opens and closes the movie. And so we wanted to make sure that these cameos, it wasn't just like, ding, horror star, ding, horror star, and count them as you go, collect them all.
Kind of like Final Destination. They did that with Tony Todd in Final Destination. They kind of just threw him in as the mortician, and then you didn't see him until the second one, where you heard about stuff going on, and then then he was the voice on the train in the subway.
Right.
It's like really, like
now,
he didn't even get credit for that.
We've set up Tony to definitely appear in subsequent films because and by the way, Tony also has enjoyed the film immensely and wants to be in future installments. So that, to answer your question, and I hope I did, it was making sure that these characters all literally play a role instead of just throwing them in like I said, a Scooby-Doo episode. Look, it's Phyllis Diller, famous actress and comedian.
Cheap applause.
Yeah, and then everybody, right, yay.
Oh, no.
We even got Gunnar in there. Gunnar is in the film.
Really?
This is Gunnar's last on-screen appearance. Yes.
Oh,
so
now we got to go see it.
Since you segued that, I do have a question. So I saw a still shot picture. It looks to be a female or a character that looks eerily resembles Leatherface with a chainsaw. Yeah. Is that like an homage to Gunnar?
It is. That is Debbie Rochon.
Okay.
And it is an homage. And most of all, if you look very carefully at the mask is Roman Polanski.
No way.
No.
Oh.
I didn't notice that. I saw the mask, and that scared me alone. That
somebody did.
Shot.
Somebody picked it up. They said, "Is that Roman Polanski?"
Wow.
And it's like for the Rosemary's Baby reference.
Wow.
It's Roman Polanski's skin face.
Oh. All right, we got to come up with a Death House drinking game.
Yeah, we got
every time.
Well, you know what? That's really cool. That I hope people do that.
We will get that trending.
I will tell you this: the best Easter egg in the whole thing, and there are a lot of them. There are video Easter eggs, and then there are sound Easter eggs. You got to listen for certain dialogue.
Ooh.
However, the last Easter egg in the film, I can tell you this: it's the original and real one. That's what I can tell you.
Ooh.
And this is post credits. I heard that a rumor to wait till after. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Hey, if you're gonna have the start of a franchise movie like this, you gotta do the epilogue and the prologue and all of that. You gotta. you gotta go all Marvel.
Well, I mean, that's the one
absolutely.
thing that they've done pretty well is combining films. And I know there is a huge future. I think you have mentioned in other interviews I've seen where and read about where you're doing probably 3, 4, 5 of them possibly.
That's the plan. There are 5 sequels planned and then an unofficial prequel that the producers want. And
those damn
producers. I've got my hand in all of them, but I can say that Death House 2, the script is done. It's ready to go.
Do you need any extras?
We'll always take extras. We had a shitload of them in Philadelphia, so.
I'll bet.
All right, Adam, we got to make
in Los Angeles. In fact, we even have like Steve Barton from Dread Central. He's an extra.
Do you need a radio show?
We had a lot of fun.
Do you need a radio show or TV segment?
So we actually
not trying to do it, just subtle here, subtle. Being subtle.
Gotcha.
So we have a couple questions from both of our chat rooms. So this is the more like radio chat room. It says, Mr. Smith, very very formal. What are your thoughts about the horror movies coming out today compared to past movies? What's gotten better? What do you think is missing? What do you think viewers, audience are looking to see in horror gore movies that would make you want to go see them?
It's a good question. Without sounding like the old man chasing kids off his lawn, in my day things were better. Let's face it,
whippersnapper.
Right, you kids. let's face it, in the 80s, everybody goes, oh, the 80s, what a great time for horror. There were a lot of good horror films, but there were also a lot of bad horror films in the 80s as well, too.
True story.
Every decade has its great and its bad. And every decade, the thing that I was saying was that horror is connected to its time. So we had a discussion on a previous interview. Yeah, look, with the success of it, now they're talking like with Halloween now being reboot and the excitement that Jamie Lee Curtis is coming back.
But she's dead.
The fold. Look, if they can bring back Ripley, they can do anything.
It's true.
So,
in horror movies, no one dies.
That's not true. Right. Everybody who has sex dies.
All they have to do is just ignore timelines. So nothing happened after Halloween 1 or Halloween 2. That's it. Everything else was ignored. Who knows?
They're just going to X-Men it.
They're going to X-Men it?
I personally wonder if they're just going to be chasing each other this time through the old folks' home, like a senior home. Maybe that's what'll happen.
Really?
Yeah, Laurie Strode is eating Activa.
I was just about to say that.
I don't know. But anyway, it's just we have our good stuff, we have our bad stuff, and they're a product of the time. And what I was saying was, I don't know if Freddy or Jason are relevant right now to horror, to this new generation of horror viewers.
No,
because the whole have sex and die thing was a big thing in the 80s, because historically you had this weird perfect storm of conservative and liberal in the 80s. You had a very conservative president in office, and everybody hearkening back to the 50s and all of that. I mean, Happy Days was on TV, Laverne and Shirley.
Right.
All of that. So we have this conservative nostalgia, but yet we have this liberal kind of forward party kind of atmosphere in the 80s. And so sex equals death was kind of acceptable. And of course, that was the running thing in these movies, have sex and die.
Yeah.
So is that relevant now? I don't know. It Follows kind of changed things on that a little bit and kind of brought that motif up.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer to the question really is, I think every generation has its good stuff and bad stuff. And I think if I were to say that the only problem that I have with horror right now is, this popcorn kind of horror that everybody thinks is so terrifying, like a movie like Lights Out, which should just be called Jump Scare the Movie. Like, that's it. There's nothing deep about, and maybe there's not supposed to be.
It's in 3D.
It's a date movie. You go and I don't know. All I know is I watched it and I went, all right, I guess,
What do you like now? What have you seen lately that you think is really good or has kind of changed horror a little bit?
Well, I mean, I saw, everybody's going to ask, I saw It, and I couldn't wait to see it. I walked out feeling not cheated. I liked it. I didn't think it was phenomenal or game-changing. I'm a fan of the book, and both versions, before anybody says, oh, you're just upset because they cut out the child sex scene. No, I'm not talking about that. I could care less about that. But both versions cut out the entire metaphysical aspect of the film, because what both versions have really failed to answer, and maybe they will in the sequel, and maybe there are deleted scenes. I don't know. All I'm saying is what I saw on screen 2 weeks ago does not answer the question as to why it fears the children. All we keep hearing is we're stronger together. Okay, why? Why? This thing has been around a long time. Why this group of kids? Why does it fear this group? Nobody else has tried to kill this thing before. I mean, it made it into etchings and books and old books, so people must have known it was around. Somebody must have tried to kill it before.
Sure.
Why is it afraid of these children, and why did they vanquish it? Maybe they'll cover that in the sequel. I know the answer. I read the books. I read the book.
Spoiler.
So, I'm just pointing out. I get it. It was great. What I heard, I think what really is telling is what you heard the audience saying as I was leaving, and I love listening to the audience. And as people are going out, what do you think is the number one thing they compared it to?
I haven't seen it yet. Not gonna lie.
Okay. Well, you don't really have to
haven't.
other than see the preview, the trailer.
Oh yeah.
What do you think it evokes? What do you think it's comparable to?
Ooh, comparing. See, I hate.
It's the top. It's one of the top shows on Netflix.
Yeah.
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things.
I said
that's all everybody kept saying, and the kid from Stranger Things is in it.
Well,
and that's
so
a good
Stranger
show.
Things ripped it off.
Walking out, that's all you heard people saying. Oh, it's very Stranger Things. Well, actually, no. Stranger Things is very It.
Yeah, it ripped it off. It ripped it off from It.
And,
right.
And if you love that type of horror, I don't even think I would consider Stranger Things a horror. I think I would consider it more of a thriller than anything.
It's
but it does have
it's more like, it's more like the Goonies with a lot of fuck words.
There you go. There you go. That's what we'll use.
You know what I mean? And that's fine. I mean, look, whatever gives people a good time, right?
Sure,
like,
absolutely.
I mean, let's face it, you could take people and have them look back on the original Frankenstein and go, oh, that sucks. That's terrible. It's silly. The acting is so over, it's so bad, So we're always going to have that. So my only thing is the lower end horror that just gets these accolades, and I don't understand why. I can see why it made a lot of money. I wish I directed it. I wish I was making that kind of money.
Me too.
This guy now could make the phone book if he wants to, and people will come see it. So it's not a sour grapes thing. I'm just saying I'm more partial to the book, but I thought it was an extremely well-made film. I walked out that I enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I spent the money on it to see it. I think that's a fair assessment.
Sure.
So, but when you get a film like Don't Breathe, I don't understand that. I don't get it. First of all, they crapped out and they cheated. They had a really cool kind of thing going there where, the villain we may actually be rooting for, and probably with good reason, because every character in that movie is pretty despicable.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's ever been a movie I've seen recently where the protagonist or the antagonist, whatever ones you really want to define them as, have it coming to them, Don't Breathe is it. And then they crapped it out and turned it into a creepy rape chamber in the basement.
Yeah.
Kind of crap. I'm like,
Really?
oh, come on. You had something really good here that you could have turned the tables on the genre a little bit, and you went the cheap route. You went the scared route because you might offend people out there or cause some kind of controversy.
I hate that
So
word.
whatever you do, don't do that. So they cheaped out and they went the basic, psychopath route, and they ruined it. That's how I felt.
I hate when they do that. I really do, because I personally think when and it's got to come up from the producers and the executive producers, even the production studio are probably the ones that are stepping in and saying, no, you got to do this, you got to do this. It takes away from the art. It does.
I agree. There you go. I think that's the answer to this person's question. And that is, there's nothing wrong with a Big Mac, but we also should enjoy some fine cuisine once in a while too.
Yes.
And let's face it, this summer was filled with Big Macs.
Oh,
okay?
oh, without a doubt.
That's pretty much all of your superhero movies. I'm sure, Wonder Woman, I saw it. It's good.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it.
I thought it was good.
You didn't like Batman versus
Right,
Superman, right?
Oh, Batman versus
But-
Superman sucked.
Beg your pardon?
You didn't like Batman versus Superman, did you?
No. No, that movie gave me a headache.
That is,
thank you.
That is the general consensus here on the show. Batman versus Superman sucked.
I still don't
And
understand.
I only saw. Look, I'm not a superhero guy. I'm not a comic book guy.
Right.
Give me giant monsters trashing buildings any day.
Godzilla.
There you go.
But with Batman versus Superman, I watched it just to see, what's going on here, what happened behind the scenes
such
versus
a
what's
mess.
making it to the screen. By the time it was over, I did take pain reliever when it was done. It was like, and I felt that way though about the Man of Steel. It was like watching a supercharged video game for 2 hours. I had a headache by the time I was done watching it because it was just so annoying.
And
We don't need a dark and brooding Superman. I know.
There
everybody
you
wants
go.
freaking Man. We don't need it.
there's only one character
that's why
who's
we
dark and
revert back
brooding.
to Christopher Reeve's Superman, because
Yeah.
there was still some virtue out there, and it was nice to leave the theater smiling and feeling good that there could be a good person with such power instead of their brooding and dark, and they're carrying all this weight on their all right, I guess.
Wah.
Wah wah wah.
Wah.
I like him better. He shares my opinion
I love
about
him.
how
Love
crappy that movie is, and anyone that loves that movie clearly needs to.
Well, no. I won't go that far. I mean, look,
People are gonna like what they like.
If a movie gives somebody a good time, so be it. Look, the number one movie that I hate, that I just think is the worst, is Jaws: The Revenge.
Oh, it's
People tell
horrible.
me,
Agreed.
But at the same time, somebody out there loves it, and that's okay, right? I mean, that's what it's all about. The internet has become, like, I saw somebody posted, some kid walked out of the movie theater of it, and he posted on his phone that he hated the movie, or he thought it, quote unquote, sucked.
Read the book.
And, like, the internet tore into him, you know? And it's like, look, the kid's allowed to say he doesn't like it. Why does everybody, oh, I see, you're allowed to disagree as long as we all disagree on the same thing.
Right.
You're allowed to disagree and not like something, or like something. Look, I'm sure people love Batman. Look, it made a lot of money. Somebody liked it.
Yep.
You know? But for me, it wasn't my thing. And I can say this, if I were to make a Batman versus Superman movie, that's not the movie I would have made.
No.
But there would be plenty of people who would have hated my version. So, like, Adam Wingard was, I guess he took his account off Twitter now because, like, you know, these fanboys were upset with what he did with Death Note. And,
I read about that.
Started sending him death threats to him and his... What the hell's wrong with people? It's a movie.
Get over it.
You know?
People just... Honestly, I really think that people just don't understand, like, the hard work that goes into these films.
No,
I mean,
they don't.
You know, when you say... You filmed it in 19 days, okay, with Death House. You filmed it in 19 days. They don't understand how hard that is.
They don't. But that applies to pretty much any profession.
Yeah.
You know, look at what you guys do. I'm sure there are people go, oh, you just sit around on Skype and, you know, you listen to people talk. No, they don't know what it's like to produce and edit and get those things up, work out the technology bugs, and most of all, try to make a living at it.
My
that's like the 300-pound guy that sits in the stadium and yells about how the football players aren't playing correctly. My answer is, well, fat ass, get down on the field and you go from.
Love it. Love it.
So my answer is, when somebody goes, oh, I saw Camp Dread and it sucked, my response is, and your movie is where? I'd be happy to watch
True
your movie
story.
and let you know what I think.
I'd
That's
love
right.
to.
You don't have one. Got it. Okay, right. So you're just somebody that sits on the internet, like these people that, like I said, the trailer reviewers. A lot of them, their job is to do nothing but say negative things because that gets people to click.
Yep.
And then what they do is they hope that I'll chime in. I chimed in one time because their assessment was so totally off base that they have no skill at film criticism whatsoever. If Scott Weinberg or Roger Ebert or John Squires says the Death House trailer sucks, well, I'll listen to them because they understand film.
And they're credible.
Okay?
Yeah, they've
but
been there.
Some schmuck who sits online and sits with his, you know, prosumer camera and says, oh, this trailer sucks to all 36 of their subscribers. I don't know what to tell you, man. But this one, I did go on, and all I did say was, you're wrong in your assessment here. This is what it is. And categorically, you are wrong in this statement. Sure. And of course, right away, oh, he's, you know, they defended the reviewer. He's just expressing his opinion. He's allowed. And I wrote back, and so is the filmmaker.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I'm allowed. What do you think? Free speech runs one way. You're allowed to throw out criticism on somebody's work.
Well,
but if the filmmaker responds, oh, I have a thin skin, I can't take criticism, I'm judgmental, I'm mean, you're a bully, all those crap words that come out when people can't win the argument, so they fall on that garbage to try to win. If you're going to go out there and look, I am already setting myself up. I make things that go out there for people to critique and assess.
Absolutely.
That's what happens. And sometimes they're great reviews, and sometimes there are not.
And then
even Jaws has its bad reviews. But if you're going to be wrong, like totally wrong, it has nothing to do whether you liked it or not. For example, I had one reviewer that reviewed Camp Dread that it was not a glowing review, but goddamn, if it wasn't one of the best written reviews I've ever had on one of my films. And I wrote back and said, I wish you would have liked the movie more, but thank you for writing such a great review. It was a negative review, but damn if it wasn't good.
But it was honest.
It was so well done.
It was honest. I think a lot of these reviews...
Honest. And it was good. They knew what they were talking about.
Right.
Like, I'll give one last example, and I have it on my series. I have a written series called Cinema, Cynema, and it's about cynicism in filmmaking. And I talk about when filmmakers, it's not that they have thin skin, Scott Weinberg said one time. It's just they don't like when they're barraged with ignorance.
Yeah.
And this one review came at my film, The Fields, which by my own account, I didn't direct The Fields. And I think a fair assessment also with The Fields is if I had directed it, it would have been a different movie.
Sure.
So, but they got it all wrong. This one reviewer said, Harrison Smith thinks it's funny to have an old lady like Cloris Leachman, and I'm paraphrasing, say the N-word to a little boy. Number one, the N-word, we're not 5, okay? And I didn't use the word for laughs. And the only people that have been offended by the use of that word are uptight white people, okay? Because I've watched the film with predominantly non-white audiences who don't have a problem with it because in the proper context of which it was written and directed, it is not a comedy scene. It's about an old woman coming to terms with her own racism and realizing I really should not only be saying this word, but saying this word to my grandson.
Sure.
And she was coming to grips with that. That's what the scene is about. It wasn't played for laughs. So that told me, this reviewer, you don't know anything about film criticism at all.
Yeah.
And then took a personal swipe at one of my other stars. And it's like, and what are you doing? You're writing on the internet. That's what you're doing.
You're blogging.
You're blogging. Okay, go out and make a movie and then get back to me.
I can't.
But you see, when you say that these days, you're mean, you're angry. People have said that, like, your interviews are so angry. I'm just passionate about what I do.
Yeah.
I want to make good stuff. I know we made a good film with Death House. Like it or not, we made a great film. It is well produced. It is well written. It is well acted. It is top-of-the-line special effects. It's beautifully edited, color corrected, sound designed. It's all there.
And it's hard work.
Okay, we didn't make a bad movie with hubcaps on fishing line and screwed the audience like a Jaws the Revenge. We didn't do that.
Oh, you don't want to see the puppet strings? Come on. That's the good stuff about that. That's what they don't understand. They don't understand how much hard work really goes into these films. I mean,
any filmmaker that's listening to me now understands it and gets it.
Absolutely.
Look, even if you went out and spent only $50 to make your film, you know what it's like to gather up people to act and then try to edit it and get it out there and get it shown and anything. And my hat is off to anybody that's doing that because somebody said, what's the best advice you have for making a movie? And my answer is make it.
Make it.
Get out there and make it. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it forever. Go out and make it.
Yep.
And, it's not then people go, wow, it's not easy. But that's like, whether it's teaching or being a doctor or anything, people sit back and critique doctors.
Sure.
Oh, they suck. This doctor, this hospital's terrible. Well, they don't know what it's like to operate. They don't know what it's like to deal with this, that, and the other thing. There's so much that goes into it.
Yeah. Kevin in our chat room, he's also my editor for doing all the background stuff that I can't get to. He wanted to know what type of program you guys use to edit the film and why.
Sure. Well, it was edited at Digital Cave in Baltimore, Maryland. And Colin Smith was our editor for Death House, and we used Final Cut Pro on that. That's what he used there.
Good old Final Cut.
Yep, and that was it was a personal choice. They prefer Final Cut Pro.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I love Final Cut Pro. I don't really like the newer models, but I like the older programs. But for what we do, I use Adobe. I love using Adobe Premiere.
I use Adobe, and here in my office I use Adobe Premiere.
And I love it, especially with the integration
too.
Between Adobe Audition and After Effects and all that. It's great. And by the way, for those watching and listening, Adobe does not sponsor this show. It'd be really nice if they did, but it is what it is. and that is a long running joke. Whenever we drop a name, we're not selling out. They don't pay us.
Right. Yeah, I'm not endorsing anything.
I'm not endorsing, but that's
Except
just
Death
what
House.
we use. Exactly.
And the Jaws people on Twitter.
Yeah. Well, they've already been interacting with me on Twitter. It's funny that you name dropped, and since then there's all kinds of things going on. So that's great.
What was it?
They're up to no good, are they? Are they all hanging out at the Tap Lounge?
Miss Amity Island retweeted everything.
Yeah, she's a gem.
I love those guys.
Those guys are great.
So Amanda in the More Like Radio chat room asked another question. She was wondering what your thoughts are on the if you've seen the Conjuring and Annabelle movies, and also your thoughts on American Horror Story. If you like those, if you watch those, are you into those at all?
Well, I mean, I'll answer Amanda by simply saying my thoughts don't matter. If you love it, that's all that matters, right?
There you go.
That's good.
I think they're all well made. I think the Conjuring movies are extremely well made. They didn't really scare me, but I'm really not afraid of that kind of stuff. So that's not what scares me. What scares me, Amanda would probably go, that's nothing.
What does scare you?
I'm really happy to see. I think the importance of American Horror Story is just the nice part of bringing horror back to television and quality horror back to television. That's what's so cool. It attracted some big talent, and that's what I think is really important. I think that some people overlook that it brought back a kind of a golden era again. So I hope I answered that question on that.
They better bring Tales from the Crypt back. I'm telling you right now.
They're supposed to.
No.
I'm sure they will.
No.
I've heard rumors to that effect. I'm sure.
M. Night Shyamalan was supposed to, and I heard the last that they canceled that whole thing. They were bringing the Crypt Keeper back, which is one of the things I loved as a kid.
Yay, Crypt Keeper!
Like that was. I mean, I was probably younger at that point, but I remember watching it at HBO, and I was scared. But then I look back, and I own all those shows and all the old horror movies, and I've got tons of B horror movies and C's and D's and F's. But I remember watching them, and I'm going, wow, they had a lot of celebrities. Like, a lot of people.
I got to work with a bunch of them from both the show and the movies. Billy Zane and Corey Feldman.
Yep.
So.
Corey Feldman!
I
love Corey. Corey's a great guy. Shout out to Corey Feldman.
Yay!
He also worked with Danielle Harris, who was actually in...
She's a sweetheart.
She was in one of your films as well, Camp Dread, correct?
She was in Camp Dread. And not only just a gifted actress, but a gifted director and producer. As well too, and just one of the nicest people you'll ever run across. And I'm so glad to have worked with Danielle and stay in touch with her.
Now, will she be in Death House 2? Because I know at some point, as I was following the last year or so that I've been hearing about this film, her name was attached, and a lot of names were attached, unattached, including Robert Englund, among others that were kind of attached. You'd see things appear, and then it would disappear.
I can answer that question for you right now, and that is you kind of said it before that it's kind of a minor miracle when a movie gets made. So these names throughout, even before I came to the project, were attached: Doug Bradley, Bruce Campbell, Danielle, all these people. But the problem is when the money moved, everybody's schedule wasn't ready to go at that time. So there were some that just simply could not make it. Robert, I believe, had 3 things he was committed to at the time, and one of them, don't quote me on this, I think it was in Scotland.
Wow.
So there was no way we were getting Robert at the time, because it was all of a sudden like, oh, there's the money, let's go. And that's how it really happened. Bruce Campbell couldn't make it because he was doing Ash versus the Evil Dead, and but he was generous. That he wanted Death House to open up the Bruce Campbell Film Festival. So we have that. And look, the invite is open to all of them. Danielle, the same thing. She was working on something when we went to camera. So, and Danielle knows how I am. She has an open invite on anything that I make, and that includes drama. I think Danielle is just more than just a horror actress. I think everybody involved in Death House, and I think they all want to be recognized more than just a horror actor. I mean, Barbara Crampton, for example, why this woman doesn't have an Oscar, and I've always said that Dee Wallace was robbed of an Oscar for Cujo.
Oh yeah,
so, without a doubt.
He was. That was combat pay that they gave her for Cujo, and her performance is just so powerful. So that's what I mean. Like when it finally moved, it was like, okay, who's on board and who can go, and that's the train's leaving and who can hop on. That's how it happened.
I like it.
That's awesome.
I like it. Gotta get Robert. Gotta get Robert Englund.
We ran the poll, and that's
Robert Englund won our poll.
Robert Englund.
He's very nice. He's very nice, and we hope to have him in any of the sequels. I mean, the invite is open, and we hope that will happen, and as long as the schedule works.
He is the only.
You have a ton of actors, I'm sure, after this film premieres and everyone sees it, and online we're going to be lining up to be a part of it. I have no doubt about that for part 2, and we'll certainly be in line for that.
Part 2 is even bigger and better than part 1.
See, I like in your movie, because you talked about the Expendables, but I actually like the idea of your movie being like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, because you literally have so many actors and actresses and people in this film that are connected to Hollywood throughout it all. I guarantee you could do a 3 Degrees of Kevin Bacon with this film alone and the films after it, because there's just so many people in it and what they've appeared in. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, even you don't see her, but you hear her. Adrienne Barbeau is the voice of the Death House computer. And that is a direct nod to Escape from New York. Nice. And in fact, Death House owes a lot to Escape from New York, more than it does a slasher movie. Death House is more of a sci-fi horror action film than it is anything else. And in fact, when Kane is being brought into Death House, you hear Adrian going, "Follow the yellow line. Should you wish to be terminated?" You know, that kind of thing. Which is right out of Escape from New York.
Step off. Step off. Just step off. Bam! Dead. And can you tell us a little bit more about Kane's character? Like, is he like the anti-hero of this film?
That's a great question, because Kane, you will find, and people have commented on this in the closing moments of the film, they actually find deep sympathy for Kane and his character. Ooh. His character's name is Sieg. Sieg is a neo-Nazi type of character that had some type of compound, and we don't know exactly what he was going to be doing with all these followers. But Courtney Palm's character, Agent Boone, had infiltrated. They ended up having a confrontation, which brought him to Death House. She arrested him and got him to Death House.
Wow.
And from there, it's a cat and mouse game between the two of them. And that's what I mean by those two actors really brought an incredible backstory to their whole world. And Kane's character, Sieg, has been dabbling in the occult. We never really explain why or how in this one, but he has regenerative powers. And that's where I'll take a moment, if I can, to bring up something especially about what present horror generations look at. While we were editing this film, our editor, Colin, I think he's about 25, somewhere there. And Colin says to me, he goes, "Hey, Harrison, I got to ask you, how the hell does Kane do all this? Like, they do this to him, and then he comes back, and they do that, and then, you know, he regrows this, and you can't kill the guy." And I said, "Well, what are you talking about? Why does that confound you?" He goes, "Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense." I said, "We bring up that he dabbled in the occult and Nazi mysticism in the occult, and he did something. He connected with a power." "Yeah, but you never really answered." I said, "Okay. Well, are you a Friday the 13th fan?" And he goes, "Well, yeah." He goes, "I love him." He goes, "Kane is my favorite Jason." I said, "So, if I'm not mistaken, they've killed Jason by drowning him, burning him, blowing him up, chopping his head off,
twice,
spiking him, you know, all this stuff.
Burning.
They never explain how he comes back.
Acid in the sewer."
Right. Sure. I said, they never explain. I said, most of all, when he died in the original Friday the 13th, he was this frail-looking boy with a hydrocephalic skull, probably, you know, mentally disabled. And then in part 2, he's this big hulking thing with a sack over his head. What do they have? Like some weightlifting program underneath Camp Crystal Lake? Like, how did this happen?
He lifting rocks.
And he said, he goes, "Well, I don't know." I said, "So when Kane wears a mask, you have no questions.
Steroids.
But when he doesn't wear a mask, you have questions." And he goes, "I guess I never really thought of it that way." I said, "Well, that's what it is. Why are you asking now? Look, how we never explained in the original 78 Halloween, we never explained, how does Michael Myers come back?
That's my thing.
Donald Pleasance had a perfect answer. He's evil. That's it.
Yeah. He's possessed.
He's evil. I looked into his eyes and I saw the devil. I saw evil. That's all there is. That's all you need. Right? Why do we have to have a midichlorian scene where a scientist is looking at Michael's blood going, "Well, you see, the genetic structure of Michael Myers really allows genetic rehabilitation. So when the genes are damaged, they are able to form in a very fast and rapid way a reparation type of thing, which allows the body to reject." Who cares?
Also known as Jason X.
Right.
There you go.
We don't care about any of this. He's evil. Do we have to explain why the shark came to Amity? Well, you see,
it was hungry.
There was a current, and it was oxygen rich, and the shark followed the current and came into Amity. And do we have to explain? No. One day the fucker showed up and started eating people.
He digs saltwater taffy. It's whatever, you know? He loves the saltwater taffy.
He wanted some white chocolate. That's what he wanted. He was hungry.
We don't need all this backstory. We don't need deep explanation. We don't need it. They're monsters. Sure. That's it.
Listen, they kill people. That's it.
They kill people.
Michael Myers was possessed. Simple as that.
Once they did that, I'll tell you what, man. I heard the audience groan many times, but groan in The Phantom Menace when they started explaining the Force as a
the midi-chlorians were a horrible idea.
Please don't bring up that film.
I saw a meme one time, midi-chlorians. The answer to the question no one asked.
What makes up the Force?
I'm good.
Who cares? And I'm a Star Wars fan.
Yoda said it best. It connects us all. That's it. Thank you. Moving on.
You're one with the Force. That's it.
Right. Connects the Rock. It connects this. It connects that. That's
the Force is in all living things.
Yeah.
And people will say, but Rock's not a living thing. Yeah, it is.
Right. It contains an energy. Shut up.
I like him.
Told you he's awesome.
And like I said, Harrison, I'm a big Star Wars fan. The first movie I ever saw in the theater was Return of the Jedi. So that got me into Star Wars, you know? And yeah, unfortunately, I saw the prequels because everybody got excited for the prequels.
I saw the prequels and I got screwed every time.
Yeah. and you know what? It's funny. I'm glad I have them because like my studio, and I know you can't see Adam, but when we give you the YouTube video of this, you'll see Adam in front of a lot of videotapes and DVDs and all that. Yeah, I have every version of Star Wars. I have the theatrical cut because let's face it.
I don't know what that says.
I'm obsessed with movies.
12 versions of Star Wars.
I'm obsessed.
That's what I said.
You know, not just Star Wars, but I'm obsessed with movies. I love movies. I love how they're made.
And that's great.
You know,
that's great.
And that's what I went to school for. I went to school for making this shit. I just need the money to do it. Because let's face it, let's face it, I'm broke and I have a 16-month-old.
Yeah, that happens.
She takes all my money now.
That's your own horror film you have to deal with. Okay.
Come here, Daddy. That'd be a great Child's Play movie, wouldn't it? Banging on the crib.
To Tom Holland and the crew.
There you go.
Banging on the crib. Daddy, come change my diaper. No, please leave me alone. Please.
That's scaring a lot of people. That's too real for us. That's too real.
It's very real, and it happens every day. I'm surrounded. I'm screwed. I know it's a little past the hour, and I know you have to go. I mean, you can stay if you want. You're more than welcome to, because we're loving
I can give you a few more minutes if that's okay.
That's perfectly fine. My big thing, and everybody who listens to the show, everybody who watches the show, they know this. I hate reboots, and I hate remakes. I want to get your take as a director on the reboots that are, in my opinion, plaguing Hollywood. Because I feel that they're just running out of ideas, and they're playing.
Again, there's nothing wrong with a reboot or a remake if it's able to correct things that were not able to be done in the original. And yet, at the same time, if the original, like let's use for an example, did we really need a remake of the 1933 King Kong?
No. It was
my
good.
answer is no, we did not. But however, when you have a copyright issue, I believe was at the center of it all, but you turn out and make a really good remake of Night of the Living Dead, which was a really phenomenal remake and was my introduction to Tony Todd. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, many will argue, well, is it a remake? My opinion is no. I think it is another adaptation of the original written source material. Like The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing is not a remake of the Howard Hawks film.
No.
No. It is an original adaptation of the Campbell novella, which, if you compare the two films, they're nothing alike, other than they're in the Antarctic and they find something in the ice. That's it. That's where the comparisons end. So here's my problem with the reboot / remake, and you can go on my site, Cinema. In fact, it's not a reboot, it's not a remake, it's a repackaging, I think is the title.
Repackaging. Awesome.
And when you're ripped off by something like Jurassic World, Jurassic World is a perfect example of why there shouldn't be reboots or remakes, because what they did is they kind of beat the system. They really made a sequel, but yet they're kind of retelling the story all over again. And what they did is basically, I mean, Jurassic World, let me put it to you this way. When I went to go see it, I was standing alone in the line, and there were these college dudes in front of me, and the 2D show, the regular showing, sold out. And all that was left was the more expensive 3D. I didn't want to see it in 3D, but I'm
sucks.
here now, so I'm going to see it in 3D.
Sure.
And these dudes in front were like, yeah, but it already started. This is bullshit. And I went, gentlemen, let me just ask you a question. What do you think we're really going to miss here? What do you think? Let me guess. We're going to walk in, and, you know, the previews are probably still on.
Yep.
And you're going to see some type of catch in the beginning, some kids, and then we're going to see lots of pans of the island and the dun 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 dun.
And this is all before you walk in.
Lots of people staring in wonder at CGI dinosaurs. Well, on the way out, these guys go, that's exactly what it was. Because you just watched Jurassic Park all over again.
Yep.
I mean, there's a video online that shows the side-by-side comparisons of the scenes. What they did is they stitched together a whole bunch of scenes. There is no screenplay for Jurassic World. It's a laundry list. It's a to-do list. Make sure we get this, then get it to there, and end it with that. The ending is Godzilla, right? The T-Rex is the noble fighter at the end that walks off into the sunset, beaten up and scarred. Bitch. But, right, that was Godzilla.
Yeah.
And we've got it all. That is my problem, because you're selling it to people, making pretend that this is an original thing. Right. Jurassic World is not. Okay, it is just a repackaging of all the films, and they're selling it to you as something new, and it is not. The same thing with Terminator Genesis. Same exact thing. We take the better parts of other movies, reshoot them, stitch them together into this to-do list of a script, and there you go. My argument is, and I don't care, I mean, he just left, episode 9, but Colin Trevorrow did not direct Jurassic World. He managed it.
Yeah.
That's what he did. There was nothing to direct.
Yeah, and even with Jurassic World, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a good summer blockbuster to just kill some time.
It's a popcorn dinosaur movie, right? I mean, that's what you pay for.
Yeah.
Well, it delivered. It gave you plenty of dinosaurs, and it gave you the same story. I mean, really, what more are you going to do with this shit?
And there was a lot of homage to the original Jurassic Park. I mean, it was
Which,
basically...
to me, is just only a reminder all the time of how much better the original film was.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly, and you'll never beat the original.
I think the effects in the original are better than in Jurassic World.
I'm personally a fan of the practical effects. I think
me too.
They're more realistic, you know. And even with the technology now, you can do so much with practical effects. When you see somebody doing CGI, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great people that can do CGI out there. The CGI sometimes, I'm not going to mention any movies, Sharknado, excuse me, sorry, I apologize for that. The CGI looks cheesy, and you can tell. People are not fooled by this anymore.
That's meant to be.
Yeah.
Like when you talked about like a remake or a reboot, there's no need to remake Let the Right One In. There was no need for Let Me In with Chloe Moritz.
Yep.
There was no need to remake Carrie. It was done right the first time. Okay, so what? Now you have a little bit more money. You can show the town blowing up. That wasn't the point of Carrie.
No. Ben-Hur.
So there was no need to remake. For example, I hear right now there's going to be an American remake of Lake Mungo.
Oh no!
Why do we need to do this?
Why?
First of all, it's Australian. Most people here speak English. We can understand it.
Yep.
Why do we have to remake it? The Australian culture isn't that far removed from the American culture that we would have a divide here that we couldn't understand the concept of the movie. Why do we need to do this? In my opinion, that's just a deliberate dumbing down.
Yeah.
So,
and that goes to the same with The Ring. I mean, The Ring.
Of course.
The Ring was not from here.
Right.
Same thing with The Grudge.
The Grudge, same thing. Yeah, these were all movies that you really couldn't understand the language.
The ultimate one that people talk about is remaking Jaws.
Oh, they better not.
Here's my point of that. Number one, they should leave it the hell alone. That's number one.
It's called
number
Deep
two,
Blue.
What you get is, I heard that, and I don't know if it's true, I just heard that they were toying with the idea that for the 40th anniversary of Jaws, they were going to re-release the film not only in theaters but also on Blu-ray with a CGI shark.
No.
Good night. I'm
No.
tapping.
Because here's why. Yes, the mechanical shark had its limitations, and
Sure.
Spielberg is the first to answer that and admit that. The problem is the shark from Jaws is art. It was made for that film. The technology was invented for that motion picture.
Sure.
That was made by Roy Arbogast and Bob Matty. They came together. They put this shark together. Nothing had been seen like it before. And you're going to go back and erase it?
Yeah.
There's no need to erase it. That's like going in and saying, I think the Mona Lisa needs a new hairdo. Let's touch her up.
I'm just going to refer it to this. E.T.
Right. Let's
Look
erase
what
the
happened with
let's
E.T.
erase the guns and put in walkie-talkies because we're afraid we might offend people. And that, my friends, is a much more deadlier issue because that is cultural censorship and people are screaming about Nazis and Nazism and all that. That's Nazi-like.
Yeah.
To go in and systematically erase something because it might offend somebody today. My answer is, you don't like something, don't watch it. Turn the channel, close the book, don't buy it, don't support it. Boycott it if you wish. But you do not get to control what people get to watch and see. That's censorship. That's 1984 right there. And most people behind it are the ones that are screaming for free speech, and they're the first ones to censor it.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. Don't go and
it's...
cut, like in Utah, they cut scenes out of the nudity in Titanic. Then don't show the movie.
Yeah.
And James Cameron was absolutely right to go after that theater legally
to
say, you don't do that. Then don't show the film, but you don't cut my work.
Right.
That's art.
And
so we don't go in and we don't put clothes on the statue of David or put a string on him because somebody's afraid that, we're going to see his penis.
JT's having a little fun over there. If you notice, JT's very silent. He's not a big movie guy. We're trying to get him to be a movie guy. It hasn't worked out very well. we do always suggest movies for him to watch.
I am truly enjoying the interview, though. It's really cool seeing your opinions of things and how they flow from your thoughts on real life into the intricacies of movie making and everything that goes on with that. It's really cool to see that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I mean, it's just, look, you brought me on to express my opinion.
Absolutely.
I'm sure there are plenty of people that don't agree with me, and that's what it's all about. We're allowed to disagree with each other without calling each other names and calling each other Nazis and misogynists and homophobes and racists. And...
come on, I got to call somebody an SOB.
Shut up, JT.
It's usually me.
JT is the old man of the group, and we call him that on a regular basis. We actually enjoyed it when he said he watched Deadpool.
Oh, wow.
And the fact that he watched Deadpool was a step up, I'm not gonna lie.
He hasn't seen a lot of stuff.
But then again, he also says that Cars is better than Deadpool, so
well, there you go.
But I also said that I would rather watch Captain Underpants again than
that's true.
Even having to look at Batman versus Superman.
Trust me.
I would watch Captain Underpants instead of Batman versus Superman without doubt. And I still, like I said, I think the number one reason for my pain reliever that I needed was because of Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah,
who thought that was a good idea?
And I know you're a writer and you've done a lot, but I tell you right now, I'm not even a writer, and I rewrote a better script in the middle of watching that.
Did.
I was like, I'm not really sure why he said Martha. That seems a bit odd.
Martha.
And I'm like, did they never read the book or the source material?
On it, I will say, and I'll probably get punched in the mouth for it.
Not from us.
To be fair to Zack Snyder,
who's a great filmmaker,
he says he made the movie he wanted to make. Yeah. So okay.
Well,
I mean, that's what he wanted to do.
And you even said it earlier, to stay true to yourself and to stay true to what you want, no matter what anybody else thinks.
And that's what he did. And that's what he has gone on record as saying. So, okay. Many people didn't like it, but there are some ardent Batman versus Superman defenders. And here's the best part. That's what art is supposed to do.
Sure, right. Absolutely.
It is to inspire dialogue and critique and conversation. Art is to culturally bring us together, not divide us up and start threatening people online and and having them like. What did they do on Game of Thrones? That Ed Sheeran kid from One Direction.
Oh my God, I heard about that.
Oh my God,
they destroyed him.
I've seen Game of Thrones, and I saw his appearance in it. He didn't ruin the show. He didn't do. I heard he took his Twitter account off because of it. Come on, folks.
Internet trolls.
It's a television show.
We've had a couple of internet trolls on our show a couple of times, mostly kids.
It is what it is.
And you know what? They that's the thing. They hide behind their computer, and when you call them out on it, that's when they start calling you names, and you're like, dude, I'm just
and then you're a bully, and you're mean,
then you're the bad
all
guy.
Those things. Yes.
As JT likes to put it, and JT, I'm going to quote you on this. I don't hate one specific group of people. I hate everybody equally.
Archie Bunker syndrome.
Yeah.
Right. I hate everyone equally. Got
Absolutely. Yeah. Think about it. That's why I freaking love South Park. South Park just destroys everybody, and they don't care.
Yeah, they're equally punish
and,
you.
I mean, every year you think, wow, they've been on this long, and my God, the consistent quality of,
what is it,
of the writing
21
and
seasons
the production
of
that show.
And, again, look how quickly they put out. I thought it was impressive with the amount of time you put out the movie. They put out brand new material that
in a
week,
day.
Overnight.
And it's out ready to go.
What was it? The episode, the first episode after Obama won the election, they completely changed that whole episode.
Yeah, I saw how they did that. That's amazing.
And the fact that they were able to do it like that, I was amazed, because they rewrote the whole script and they just went, nope, we got to do this. We got to do this. And this is the way we got to do it.
Well, what I also like about, Parker and Stone is that they're equal opportunity offenders.
Absolutely.
They don't align themselves with a political ideology. They've made fun of both sides of the aisle and both ends of the political spectrum. If you're an asshole, they're going to call you out on it. And that's what they do. And that's what I think has made the show endure, because really sometimes you watch it just to go, my God, I guess I'm not crazy. Somebody else sees this nonsense too. Sure. And I think that's the real testament to South Park. I mean, what I love about South Park is the kids aren't the ones who are fucked up. It's all the adults.
Yeah.
If they
the
just
best
left
part.
the kids alone, they'd be fine. The adults are fucking everything up all the time.
They took our jobs.
They took our jobs. Blame Canada.
Jobs.
Blame Canada. It's all Canada's fault.
Yeah.
Just saying.
So, Harrison, when does the film actually premiere? And I know right now you're trying to get it in Regal Cinemas and nationwide, but when is the actual release date for the film?
Well, we're not trying to get it into Regal. It's going into Regal.
Okay, good. I saw the petition.
It will release January 26th through Regal Theaters. What we're trying to do is send a message out there. We have a petition that we're going to really be ramping up very soon with the marketing department. But we're trying to show Regal, that there's a huge audience for this film, and we're using the petition as a tool for that. The real deal will be the performance of the movie. If it does well, they'll expand it into more theaters. Now it's January. That's nice. Star Wars is over. Christmas is over. The playing field is pretty empty
until February.
So we're hoping to take advantage of that and hope that Death House has a very successful theatrical run. It's opening in 44 states, so that's pretty good.
Is Connecticut one of them?
Yes. Connecticut is on the list.
All right.
We need to find it. We need to find where
we'll be there day one.
Because, that's the thing. I want to go see it. And not just because of, not just because of Harrison being on the film. When I watched the trailer, I was like, damn, this looks great.
It's a lot of fun. I describe it as a roller coaster ride through the funhouse.
Nice. Beat that, Freddy Krueger.
And you are having releases on, some kind of big premiere on each coast, I assume?
Yes. Rick, the producer, will be the one to handle all of that. But I believe there is going to be an LA premiere, and I believe a Philadelphia premiere too, because we promised Holmesburg Prison, where we shot the film, and they were wonderful to us. I mean, wow, they just gave us the whole thing.
Wow.
We want to have a special premiere that the staff officers and administration are welcome to come to say thank you to them for their hospitality and their generosity.
Road trip.
Road trip to Philly.
Road trip to Philly. We need to make that happen.
Definitely.
I haven't been to a premiere in a very long time.
That'd be fun.
I like premieres.
They're fun. They're nice.
Yeah, when they're awesome with awesome people.
Yeah.
None of this stuck-up snob nose.
I don't think you're gonna get that
crap.
from this crew.
No.
I really don't.
No,
I mean, have you had Felissa Rose on your show yet?
No, but we would like to.
We would like to have her on the show.
You need to get her on your show, because if you've seen Felissa Rose, and I'm sure if you have people in your chat room right now that have met Felissa at horror conventions, they're going to tell you the same thing. I mean, just energetic, fun, and accessible to everyone. And
that's
is
the way it
not a
should
snob.
be.
She greets everybody. She loves people that have come so far to come see her, and she appreciates every single person that comes up to that table.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it should be. That's just like Jason David Frank, the original Green Ranger. When I went to New York Comic Con and I met him for the first time, he was running up and down the lane where everybody was waiting, shaking hands, taking selfies with everybody. I'm like, everybody else was just sitting at their tables. And I'm like, this guy knows what he's doing. This is he knows that the fans
it's a way to say
career.
Thank you back. I mean, you know, people appreciate their idols. And what's really nice also is when the fans see, I'm not an actor, so I don't really worry about it. But when I watch, I've seen people be rude to these celebrities. I mean, I've seen them be rude to a number of them. And maybe not, they don't even realize they're being rude. But you don't, like, you know, when you have somebody say to them, oh, you're much more attractive on screen than you are in real life. Like, people say that. And it's like, what makes you think you have the right to say something like that?
That's one of those punch them in the face. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, you can get arrested.
You paid $20 for their picture, or you bought a DVD, or you paid money to see their movie in a theater. This gives you the right to say this? I mean, didn't anybody teach you any manners to not be a jackass?
What?
Not today's day and age.
That's kindergarten 101. Come on.
Yeah, just be nice. What's wrong with being nice? It takes the same amount of effort to be nice as it does to be a dick.
Yeah.
I think we actually need to. Maybe we'll try to shoot a show from the premiere, even. We'll try to go to Philly.
You'd be welcome to. The Dorkening has come to a couple of our things, and they did it at the Scaricon.
Yeah, I think I saw that. That's awesome.
Hey, but before we do, Kevin, make sure you unban Mr. Punky from the Twitch chat, please. I don't know what he did, but I guess he got in trouble for spamming. But he didn't do anything. I'm watching it.
Harrison, is there anything else that you want to promote, up and coming, things that are coming out? Anything else before we let you go?
No, I mean, I don't usually promote too much, because until it's locked and it's ready to go, it's all bullshit.
Right.
So
I
have a number of projects that are going. One of them is about to lock, it looks like. Another one has locked, and we'll be shooting.
Nice.
I'm hoping right at the end of November, and I'll talk more about that once a director. I'm not going to be directing it, but I am producing it, and I was one of the co-writers.
Hey, and you
Fantastic.
know what?
It's a pretty big film, and I'm pretty excited about it.
We have a wonderful open door policy here on the show, so anytime, even if you just want to come on and bullshit with us, because we do a lot of that. We haven't today because but we do a lot of bullshit. I mean, we've had shows where we're talking about one thing, and then all of a sudden JT's tapping out because we're making him laugh so hard,
Sure.
and we don't even touch the show.
I hope the people that are in your chat room are appreciative. Like, I mean, I appreciate what they are patiently,
Aww.
They come in and they watch movies, and if they're supporters, thank you. And I appreciate what the fans do, and I appreciate people that have taken the time to see my films, and even if they didn't like them, they gave me their and I appreciate that. Even you don't have to like everything, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can form your own opinion and be honest about it, folks.
So far, we still can. So far.
And that's the way we're going to keep it, especially on this show. Honesty is always the best policy. That's how I like to say it. So before you go, Harrison, could you do me a favor? Can we get a liner from you? I like having liners from the people that we've had on our show. And the only thing that I would ask is just say your name, what you do, your movie, and that you're listening to the Sully Show, or listening and watching the Sully Show. How about that? Because we do audio and video here. That would be great, because you're the man.
Sure, tell me when.
Whenever you're ready. I'm recording anytime.
Okay. This is Harrison Smith, director and writer of Death House, and you're watching and listening to The Sully Show.
I like it.
End scene.
And cut. Harrison,
One take. That's all he needs.
hey, that's all he needed, man. You know what?
No, let's do a Kubrick. We need 144 takes.
Good point. With like 9 different angles and from the same
And
shot.
setups. Yeah, we're going to spend 3 days on one scene.
And by the way, we're also going to do cameras in the round, folks. Cameras in the round. Let's go. Let's go. And don't get me wrong. I love Kubrick's work. Just saying.
You can see up on my wall back there Beverly Randolph from Return of the Living Dead.
Ah, yes. Yes, I can. Look at
The
that.
little autograph picture she gave me. I love it.
Oh,
So it has a
I'm a
place
little-
of prominence on my wall.
I think we're gonna have to have a nerd off at some point between the
nerd
three of
off.
us.
Oh.
I think it's a
Ooh.
Twitter nerd off. We could post some.
Well, I can show you things like, my Godzillas, if you look up there.
Should I show him my McFarlane toy
Oh my
characters?
God, you've got like everything. Up in here.
I've got Snake Plissken, Pumpkinhead, Norman Bates,
You
Shaft.
You've got the room of a 13-year-old boy,
Don't
not a grown
mess-
man.
Listen, aside from
my
my
office.
McFarlane toys, you can't even see it. But if I open the doors behind me, up on one of the other shelves, I have King Kong. I've got Abbott and Costello. And then, of course, I got, Headless Horseman, Ash and Evil Ash. I got as many as I could find. And then I have South Park.
Yeah.
You gotta have a little bit of everything.
And then I go, then right over Adam's shoulder, and you can see it, right over his shoulder, you can see all my Disney Infinity Star Wars characters, because I had to have them. Dude, he's showing Godzilla. I love that Godzilla.
That's my Shin Godzilla I got as a birthday gift. My birthday was just a couple days ago.
And
so I
happy
got that.
birthday.
Thank you. You said it was like some birthday edition on here. Right?
Yeah,
it's
my
his
birthday.
And then-
Today,
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you,
and
sir.
then since we're showing off toys,
We like
one of my
toys.
pride and joys, my producer, Rick Finkelstein, got me Godzilla versus King Kong era Godzilla figure.
Oh, my favorite ones.
classic.
Yep.
Classic.
So,
Does that one
Yeah.
roar? Is that one of the ones that roars or no?
no, he doesn't roar. He's just vinyl.
Bummer.
That's still that's the original classic,
Yeah.
the one I love so much.
Yeah, this is the most, I think it is still the most popular Godzilla suit design.
Kevin in the chat room says, I like this guy a lot.
Thank you, Kevin.
Listen, yeah, I like
got
to say
my
we're
Better
nerds.
Off Dead soundtrack signed by Amanda Wyss and Diane Franklin.
Oh,
I do have a Kane Hodder I Love New York, the I Love New York with the Jason.
there you go.
I actually got it a couple months ago
That's
at a
right,
convention.
Yeah,
it's
you
Comic-Con
went
that
to,
I went up to.
That was the Rhode
Boston.
Island one.
No, Boston one.
Boston Comic Con.
So,
Yeah.
Better Off Dead. There you go.
I love Better Off Dead.
And I also actually have the Robert Englund, one of his
Freddy
scripts.
or-
what? Actually, I wanted it at a bid a few years back. From when the original screenplay, I guess, and this was part of when he signed the check for his first one.
Oh, for Nightmare on Elm
Oh, wow.
Street?
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nice.
And it's all signed, autographed, put in a frame, everything. It was at a charity auction, so that's kind of on my wall.
How much did you spend on it?
I'm not going to tell you what I spent on it. That was before
Well,
I was
didn't-
married.
I didn't spend anything on my Amanda Wyss or Diane Franklin signatures because I'm going to do like the fanboy brag thing. They're also personal friends.
Oh, name dropping.
So-
Name drop. Boom. Drop the mic.
All right.
Drop it, boom.
Well, you've out name dropped us, so
Wait a minute. All right. If we're gonna name drop, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna pull one over on them, but my wife, who's probably upstairs going, "What the hell are they yelling about?" My wife is second cousins once removed from
Okay.
Ernest Borgnine. And here's
Whoa.
how. Yep. Her grandfather is first cousins with Ernest Borgnine. And I didn't believe it at first until it was our first year together. We went to Christmas at her grandfather's house. And sure enough, there is a Christmas card from Ernie and his wife, Tova.
Tova.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, Donnie. And that was it. And I went, son of a bitch.
and she's probably like, I
Wow.
don't know who that is.
I'm like, you're related to one of the greatest Oscar winners of all time. And she's like, yeah, and I haven't even seen any of his movies. I'm like, and you're related to this guy?
Yeah, when they do, I love when people. I'm related, but I never saw anything.
She actually first met him at a funeral.
She met him at a funeral?
Met him at a, well, yeah, because one of the great aunts had passed away, and he was there. A couple of years later, when we were finally dating, he came back to town, and he was taking the entire family out, so we were all invited. I couldn't go because of work, which stunk. Yeah, I was working at the ranch at the time, and nobody would cover for me. So I was DJing at the time. So he actually arranged his afternoon to meet me and my wife and just chill out and sit and talk. And my wife didn't say a word. I was just doing what we're doing, Harrison, just talking about movies and having a really good time about it. And the best part was he told us all the inside outs of Airwolf, what he did with Marty when he was in Escape from New York, and
I was going to say, you got to talk about Escape from New York.
He had a great story where they were doing a test screening for Escape from New York, and when his character dies, and guys, if you haven't seen Escape from New York by now, I'm not even gonna give you a spoiler. Just go. Come back in like a minute. But when his character died, he actually said that people were very upset and they were crying in the theater when he died because of how he died, And his character in Escape from New York is a very lovable character, and I'm like, that's fucking amazing. Yes, I said it because I'm allowed. But he was so cool just sitting and hearing those stories. And meanwhile, I'm like geeking out inside going, no, I'm sitting with her and it's boring and holy shit. But finally, before we left, I asked him, I said, what was it like working with DreamWorks and getting back together with all the guys from the Dirty Dozen to do the voices of small soldiers? And he just looked at me like I had 4 heads. He leaned over and he goes, you saw that piece of shit too? And I went, I own it. I didn't bring it with me for you to sign, but I own it. But he was
probably the only one that's ever asked him about that.
Probably.
Definitely.
Probably. But that was the thing. It was a reuniting of him and his fellow cast members from the Dirty Dozen. So I really wanted to know what it was like going from that stretch of time and actually getting to work with these guys again. And that's the answer he gave. You have that movie too? Yep. Yeah, I do.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
I think it's great. I think it's great. You know why? Because when Death House actually comes out on Blu-ray and DVD or digital download, you bet your ass I'm going to buy it. Absolutely.
I'm going to buy it, but I'm also going to get a signed copy by Harrison. That's for sure.
Well, I'll gladly do it.
Say it here, and it's recorded, folks.
I might buy one just to get the autograph.
Yay! JT chimed in again.
Like to hear that.
You've already got tickets and DVDs sold without even it coming out of theaters yet. Look at that.
There you go. Harrison, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for spending an hour and a half with us. I do appreciate it. Seriously.
Thank you for having me on. I hope your audience liked it. I hope it was entertaining for them.
You know what? Even if they didn't like it, too bad.
As you said. Free country.
You can have your opinion, but
they loved it. Thank you.
If you didn't get anything good out of this interview, shame on you. Because let me tell you, this guy is amazing. I can't wait to see Death House when it comes out. I know Adam and I are probably going to go together because my wife won't see horror films. She doesn't like them. Completely.
My wife will be there because she loves them.
Of course. Jen is always.
She let me kill her at Halloween as Jason. Yeah. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's dedication.
Well, she knows she has to monitor you, Adam.
That's right.
And there you go. Harrison, thank you again so much for being on air with us.
You are welcome.
Do appreciate it. Like I said, anytime. You're more than welcome to come on anytime you want. You just send us a message. It'll probably be Adam. He controls my Twitter. Every now and then I chime in.
And I really do appreciate the exposure and the time.
Not a problem. And thank you very much again. Go see Death House this January. January what? What was it? 27?
26.
26. I was off by a day. I apologize. Go see Death House January 26th. Wow. Okay, I'm done. I can't even get the freaking date right.
Stop geeking out, Sully, and get your job right.
It's my birthday.
And buy the Blu-ray, the DVD, everything else when it comes out as well.
That's right. Get all that Death House merchandise.
Which obviously more information to follow.
Right. More to follow.
Thank you very much, Harrison. You have a great night
welcome.
and keep up the great work, my friend.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good night.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for checking out our interview with Harrison Smith, co-writer and director of the horror film Death House that comes out January of 2018. If you like the interview and you like the camaraderie between us, you can check us out live on morelikeradio.com and twitch.tv/accidentalpunch every Tuesday from 7:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Trust me, we have a really great time. You never know who could be the dumbass of the week. And, of course, you can follow us on Twitter at The Sully Show, as well as at Accidental Punch. And don't forget to follow us on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Accidental Punch. Highly recommend it. It's going to be great. And, as always, we'll see you next time.